Hey all, welcome to Shatrick. This is Raj here. Hope you guys are doing fine. I'm enjoying the new year. I have a slight bit of beginnings of a sore throat. I'm taking my medication, but my voice is sounding a bit hoarse, so please excuse that for the time being. I'm very energized by everything that's happening with this channel. We have literally added 500 subscribers in a matter of a month or so. So thank you guys. Thanks a lot. I'll continue to work on improving the quality and the contents of this channel so that we can continue this growth. And with that said, today I want to talk to you about something that's at the mind of everyone, whether they are an investor or a patient. Expensive cost of these gene therapies. So today I'm going to put forward some background and some thoughts that I have that all of us have to consider it, whether we are invested in a genomic company or if one is a patient looking forward to a genomic cure. So let's get started. Welcome back, friends. We have witnessed the silent proliferation of genomic therapies in the last 5 years, and it seems to me that we have not totally registered the impact of these therapies. Let me just give you a brief background. This is not all of the therapies, but these are the ones that I can recollect. In 2019, Zolgensma for spinal muscular atrophy was the most expensive gene therapy, and it was from Novartis. In 2021, it was followed by Bluebird's Zynteglo in Europe. And Bluebird withdrew Zynteglo in Europe because of price-related objections. In Q4 2022, the FDA approved Hemgenix, a single-dose intravenous infusion, which was developed by CSL Behring and Unicure for hemophilia B. It's also an expensive therapy. We also know that in Q3 2022, we saw the approval by FDA of Zynteglo for sickle cell disease, and approval of Skysona for the treatment of CALD in Q4 2022. Now look at the costs. Zolgensma was launched at around, 1.9 million euros or something in that region. Bluebird Zynteglo had a $1.8 million price tag in Europe, and it was untenable. So Bluebird withdrew from Europe and approached FDA for approval. And on approval, the therapy now costs $2.8 million per patient, the most expensive medication. However, so far the most expensive medication is CSL's Hemgenix, which costs $3.5 million per dose. Skysona is just behind at $3 million. Skysona is from Bluebird Bio for CALD. The total sales volume of gene therapy in 2021 was in the region of 4 billion and is forecast to touch around 45 billion by 2026. But that does not mean that the number of patients that are going to be treated is going to go up exponentially, because the cost per patient is very high. So the number of patients being treated is going to be much lower, despite the target of 45 billion sales by 2026. Of course, if we look at sickle cell disease and TDT, which is transfusion-dependent thalassemia or beta thalassemia, these are low-hanging fruits as far as genomic medicine is concerned. That's how I understand it based on all that I have read so far. And we'll soon have CRISPR Therapeutics and Vertex collaborating to get FDA approval for Exaccel. So I'm expecting that by middle of this year, we should have some good news about Exaccel. It will join Zynteglo for the sickle cell disease market. And it would be interesting to see how that affects the price dynamics. Not far behind is Beam Therapeutics with its sickle cell therapy, Beam 101, which is likely to also progress further. It's already in clinical trials now. So right now, the arguments for a higher price for gene therapies revolves around the cost, the duration, and the risk factors in developing these therapies. And on top of that, we have the manufacturing logistics that is equally complex and expensive. When we talk about autologous and allogenic therapies, we know that for the autologous therapies, one has to take blood and cells from the patient and then manipulate it and put it back into the patient. So the whole logistics out there is pretty cumbersome and expensive. So that's one of the problems. And also, if you toss allogenic therapy, still the delivery mechanisms and other things are quite expensive. AAVs are difficult to manufacture in the sufficient concentrations. If you recollect, I had done a separate video on delivery mechanisms where we spoke about the complexity of manufacturing, getting the right quality and titration levels. So all those things add to the cost. Besides cost of therapy that fail during the FDA approval process have to be recouped somewhere. So any clinical trial that goes on in a given genomic company is one among many in the pipeline. So the ones in the pipeline that fail FDA approval at various stages, their cost gets rolled into the successful therapy because there is no other way to recoup that cost. And that definitely does add to the premium on the cost of a successful therapy. And if you look at this whole set of things that I described so far, that defines the cost side approach. On the other hand, we have an equation where lifetime cost of medication using contemporary therapy is calculated. Contemporary therapy does not cure the condition, but gene therapies can either offer complete cure or infrequent dosing. For example, if someone has to take medicine on a daily basis, gene therapy could probably offer a total cure, or it could offer a cure where they have to take the gene therapy maybe once in 6 years or once in 3 years, something like that. So that's much more convenient, better quality of life, and less intrusion, and person can continue their life without much of a hindrance, pursue their career, profession, whatever they are doing. So that's the calculation that comes in there. So there's that price tag attached to the quality of life and what it is currently costing for a less superior medicine to prolong the life. Therefore, at the very least, the new gene therapy can have the lifetime cost of medication as the ceiling. So that's another dimension of this pricing conundrum. Another dynamic that drives the cost is the fact that private equity is playing a big part in the development of these companies and initial risk taking. And then we have shareholders who patiently hold on to their shares through the ups and downs, take the risk of potential failure of therapies, and support the company while it works to develop successful gene therapies. That too for difficult to treat conditions and rare conditions. All the investors are looking for is a payday. And the management of these companies is also sensitive to the fact that investors are looking for a payday and have been patient. The nature of the equity market and the corporate terms of engagement is incremental profits every year. This means either efficiencies in manufacturing or operations should provide the incremental profits, or else the price of the therapy can skyrocket very, very quickly. Now let us turn to the theory of price being determined by demand and supply, with everything else being constant. So it's a basic economic theory which says that everything else being constant, any increase in demand would lead to increase of price if the supply is constant. And any increase in supply without the demand increasing will lead to a drop in the price of the product. And when the product price drops below the manufacturing cost, then the industry is go out of business. So that's how typically the demand and supply theory stipulates the market will operate. Now, there are various categories of goods and supplies, and we have this concept of elasticity of demand. So something like salt has got a highly inelastic demand. Whatever the price of the salt, people are still going to buy salt. Whereas if you look at other discretionary things, they do have a response to increase in price, the demand falls. So that's the relationship out there. But when it comes to gene therapies to cure diseases, we have a different kind of inelasticity of demand that takes strength from societal and political morality. Because when Bluebird pulled out of Europe, for example, due to objections around the high price of the therapy, I'm sure many were outraged by the money-minded approach and lack of humanity. However, Bluebird has been working hard to come up with the therapy, and its investors are looking for a payday. If the societal and political morality becomes too strong in the advent of a string of very inexpensive therapies, we can find that the field of gene therapy will lose appetite and capital flow will decline. On the other hand, without societal and political morality bearing down to a certain extent, the prices will skyrocket. So it's a very delicate balance, and on all sides of this equation, we have humans. The patients are humans looking for affordable therapy. The shareholders are humans looking for bread and butter on their table, attractive return to their equity. And the entrepreneur is also a human being who wants to be rewarded for risk taking. The scientists are looking at intellectual growth as well as putting bread on their table, and having better quality of life for them and their family. So everywhere you look, it's all human beings, and there's a conflict of interest out here, and everyone is right from their perspective. So this is where some of the mitigating factors that offer some kind of leeway is unique offer engineering, such as that done by Bluebird with Real Endpoints Marketplace. They're offered to refund 80% of costs in case of in case that transfusions was needed within 2 years of treatment with Zynteglo. It's a very, very interesting approach. And now, from a regulatory or an investor perspective, if you look at this approach, then the question becomes, should Bluebird keep an escrow account for the 80% in order to avoid contingent liability? Will they be able to take insurance from some company which is willing to insure this 80% liability so that they don't have to keep this money in their books? And how much will such an insurance cost? Right? Will that spur a new industry as such for insuring these kind of situations? If the initial batch of patients ended up needing a transfusion before 2 years, can Bluebird sustain and honor its offer? But maintaining such reserves in the balance sheet may not help the company develop other candidates in its pipeline, and it will delay shareholders' returns significantly. So it's a given that Bluebird is not going to maintain that money in its balance sheet. It's going to go towards rewarding the shareholders or towards new therapies which are in the pipeline, or building the marketing capability for Zynteglo and Skysona and so on. So then the question becomes, will large philanthropic trusts chip in to bridge the affordability gap? Can Congress show any appetite to subsidize these expensive therapies, given that right now there is a hue and cry about price gouging by pharma companies? I think the government will also have to overhaul how they help citizens with healthcare and become more assertive as a shareholder when they subsidize therapies, either through FDA initiatives or through NIAID, and insist on having a say when it comes to pricing. The industry and insurance bodies should also be having talks around how these new expensive therapies can find success, and how the gap between the price and ability of patients to pay can be bridged. As shareholders, now is the time to ask managements on how they plan to meet this pricing, affordability, and sustainability challenge. This is fundamental to the ongoing viability of most genomic companies and will not go away even if they are taken over by big pharma. So these are my thoughts, and especially when it comes to treatment of diseases like HIV or beta thalassemia. These are very disruptive diseases, and they cost the society a lot, and they are a big risk for the society as well. In those cases, the weight of morality as well as societal pressure will be pretty significant. And we have to start thinking about this. All the stakeholders have got to start thinking about this right now. On part of the patients also, they should start saving up money. And on part of employers, they should also start thinking about what incentives they can provide. The governments can also think about tax plans, which could give tax deductions for companies which come up with these kind of revolutionary therapies, and also for patients, some kind of tax subsidy or refundable tax deductions. So those kind of things are also there, which can mitigate this conflict. And pave the way for better therapies in the future. There is no turning back, because CRISPR and genomics has unleashed immense potential to improve the human life as well as plant and animal life, and do welfare for the entire planet and the ecosystem. There is no turning back from this. There is only way going forward. And the biggest hurdle now is going to be the affordability hurdle. And it's equally important for patients as well as investors, for governments as well as entrepreneurs and companies, to start thinking about how we are going to resolve this conflict in a mutually beneficial manner, and come up with innovative tax measures, innovative pricing policies, innovative insurance products that can grease the gears in order to help all the pharma companies succeed. The first battle was to discover CRISPR. The second was to devise tools. The third was to synthesize to go and sequence the human genome. And the other challenge was to start finding all the patterns to identify various genetic defects and how to cure them. And now we are in a stage where therapies are quickly starting to roll out of FDA approval cycle and getting into the clinic. And as more and more therapies come into the clinic, we need to have a solution. And now is the time to do this. Friends, that was my thoughts on this subject, and I think it's very important for all of us to think about this. Please let me know if you have been thinking about this aspect of our genomic investments and what your ideas are. And if you guys who are watching this video are either suffering from TDT or HIV or any other disease, and you're looking forward to a gene therapy to cure you one day, has the thought of the price of these therapies crossed your mind? And what are your proactive approaches that you're taking? Or what are you thinking about? Put all that in the comments here. We have to start this discussion, and maybe when we get to talk to CEOs of various companies that develop these therapies, I can bring this question to them and share your thoughts also with them. Friends, in this new year, we are growing very fast. I can feel the energy from our subscriber base, as I mentioned before. Since we have added 500 subscribers within a month, it's now time to use the Super Thanks feature to support this channel, if you can. The times are difficult, I know. Many of you may not be able to chip in a few dollars here and there, but if you can, it's most welcome. If you can't, no problems. Don't feel guilty about anything. A like and subscribe will suffice. Once we touch 2,000 members, I plan to do two things. First is to open up the membership feature so that you can support the channel on a sustainable basis. The second is a raffle. I must tell you that I have an artistic side. I used to paint acrylic on canvas in my early days in Toronto when I had just immigrated here, and I was applying everywhere for my job. It took me 6 months to get my first break. And during that time, it was very depressing because I'd apply and I won't get any reply. And at that time, I used to pass my time by painting acrylic on canvas. I would do abstract paintings. I would do sunrise and sunset. And I would then sell it on eBay. And whenever any of my paintings sold, it motivated me a lot and gave me the strength to continue applying. And all my paintings sold off. So I'm a decent painter, not too great, not too bad. Today I plan to start a project on a blank canvas with acrylic paint. This is a 16-inch by 20-inch canvas. If you can see this. And it's blank. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to paint it. And it's going to be acrylic paint. And it should be ready by the time we reach 2,000 subscribers. I have posted a link in the description to a survey. And also I've posted the link in the community tab. It goes to a SurveyMonkey survey where you can put your name and your email address. And I would do a live stream, and I'll pick up a name during the live stream from among the people who have submitted their name and email address, and I'll announce it in the channel, on the live stream, and also on the community page. I will send you the painting by mail free of cost. I'll pay for the mail and everything. It will have my signature on the back. It is my way of saying thanks to the lucky winner who gets it. I look forward to you guys entering your email. I can promise you that your email address is going to stay only with me. I'm not in the business of selling email addresses and other things, but it will help me to pick up the raffle and send it to you. So that's all for now. Please click the link below and enter your email to win the painting. And I'll see you again in the next session. Thanks and have a great day. Bye for now.